Raul Concepcion. Raul, it was just we were trying to get it going because I'm sure there is going to be lots of discussion. As Jorge ended up his lecture or his talk, as Raul Castro stated, the guarantee of our future is our socialism. And please, once again, I mentioned Sabrina back there still is copying this strategic process, this transformative process to better the socialist economy of Cuba. So the CD includes all these debates that have taken place already, some in the National Assembly of Cuba in past December. Ministry of Industry, Basic Industry, has spoken to the issues and opened up all these guidelines. Raul Castro has spoken, President of the National Assembly has spoken, Representative has spoken, and the meetings are going on. Some of those things are on that CD, makes life easy just to put it in and read it. Because it is best to learn what Cuba is all about, just like the folks from George Brown College who are going down to Cuba to see for themselves what Cuba is, and they come back with it. Let us learn what Cuba does through the words of Cubans. This is the best way to go about it. Not this so-called quote-unquote lefty or progressive is saying about Cuba, or Cubans are privatizing everything, they are going back to capitalism sooner or later. Better to learn it from the Cubans. So without further ado, this is the way we're going to do it. Now we're going to have, again I forgot to mention, Lauren Goshuni, attorney at law. He will be speaking to us about the case of the Cuban Five. He's going to get us through the situation of the Cuban Five, the case of the Posada Caritas that was mentioned, a convicted, self-confessed terrorist walking the streets of Miami freely. Now he's in court in El Paso, Texas for immigration charges, not for masterminding, blowing up of planes, not masterminding, blowing up Havana hotels, where an Italian permanent resident of Montreal was blown to pieces back in 1997, where in an interview he stated that to New York Times magazine back in 1998. So please, without further ado, Lauren Goshuni, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, then we're going to have discussion. Please do not forget about the changes to the Cuban economy and what the Cubans are trying to do to better their economy, and with that, their cultural activities and so on and so forth. Then with Lauren, we're going to go on that. Unless we want to have the question and answer on this one, then the case of the Cuban Five data.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest. Maybe if there are any questions now that people have fresh in their mind from the presentation, this would be a good time to ask.
For Jorge is okay, but I am afraid people still want to digest some of those issues, taking notes and all that.
How many people take notes? Come on.
What do we want to do?
Questions.
Yeah, ask the questions. All right, so we're gonna ask the question. Please. Sure.
You said that you can eliminate
Can't hear you. Speak up.
You mentioned that you want to eliminate subsidies.
Yes, for example. Can't hear.
Could you repeat the question? And when
Cuba is getting rid of some of the subsidies, and how is it going to affect the people? Give some examples.
Basically, we believe that we are at a point where those that can work and be productive to society should pay for everything they receive, other than basic social services such as, for example, or education. But, for example, we know farmers, they have a high income, even compared to other Latin American countries standards, and they produce a lot of food. But at the same time, they keep receiving subsidized food by the state, for example. So what is happening today is, even we have many Cubans today that are giving, they are saying to the state, we don't need this. This is needed by my neighbor, who is not producing food because he is ill or he doesn't have the capabilities to having this economic activity, or he is in an area of the economy that is less benefited because, of course, there are priorities like tourism, let's say. So those that live for tourism they do better than others that live in areas that we are trying to develop as much as possible, but today they are not still there. From an economic point of view, from the point of view of the development of those sectors of the economy. So we even today have, for example, people that are saying, we are not going to buy state subsidized food because we don't need it. And we prefer it to be given to other members of the population of the society, like societies to take care of seniors or others, and they are donating this. This is an example. There are many other examples. For example, I can remember in workplaces where people receive some benefits that are not linked to their salaries. What we are saying is their salaries are going to be higher, and with that salary that reflects their job, what they do, they are going to pay for those. But if you are healthy, if you can contribute economically to society, we need to focus limited resources we have in those that need those subsidies, in those that needs those help. Because other thing that happens is some people don't need what they receive at a very low cost. They use that to resell it or to do whatever. So it's a cost for the economy, and those that really need it the most have to pay these people then to get it, because they maybe don't have enough resources to buy everything they need at market prices, but they need more support from subsidies. So this is what we are doing. Even more responsibility for those that work, for them to have a better salary that reflects better what their job is, what they do, what their economic contribution to society is, and with that to pay for services and products they need, and to focus services and products that are subsidized in those sectors, more vulnerable sectors of the society that they do.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was wondering, it's been now roughly 3 to 4 months since the execution of this new policy was launched, and I understand from when some leaders of the Cuban labor movement were visited here around that time, they explained that it was going to be somewhat of a phased-in process. So I was wondering if you're able at this point to at least quantify what has been achieved, what has been carried out, and I imagine there must be some measurement of this taking place, if you could share that with us. And also if you could give us a sense of the advances that the population has made in terms of really understanding this process and having their questions answered and addressed, and a sense of just how it works out in life. Because I know that there were, some Cuban people who felt relatively involved and knew that this was coming, and others for whom it was kind of a scarier thing because they felt new to the whole process. So if you could tell us just a little bit about that whole challenge of that process, and just what some of the difficulties are. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for your question. First of all, the main part of the changes are not yet implemented. They are going to be implemented after national approval in 2 months from now. Some measures have begun, such as, for example, determining in the state sector of the economy where there is excess labor workforce to reallocate that workforce either in other areas of the economy or in cooperatives or private businesses. So that process is one, for example, that has begun, but basically the major part of the process is not yet finished because it is only going to be implemented after conclusion of nationwide discussion. And that is what is happening right now. It began, of course, with the presentation by government of the guidelines for national discussion. And of course, there's already been discussions with the different labor unions. And what is happening right now is that it's going on in workplaces and in social organizations. So everywhere, even we have given our opinion from Toronto, to give you an idea of how comprehensive the process is. So basically all these opinions are being received and are going to be taken care of in the way that everybody has a voice, and main concerns are going to be addressed and taken into account. This these changes are not to benefit either international corporations or or to satisfy demands of any international organization, or to do anything under pressure of any foreign government. This is what we in Cuba believe we need to do right now in order to move forward and to improve with total popular support of our people. If we are here today after 50 years, is because our process, the main aspects of it, is popular. But if we publish it 35 pages with 291 points of changes, even in the internet, is because we want to take into account concerns of the people. This is not a document prepared by government in offices. This document of the guidelines was prepared because before that, government received concerns, preoccupations, complaints from different sectors of the population that wanted Cuba to move faster and better in the economic area and to solve problems we have to cope with after the economic crisis of the 90s. So now that we survived that period, we've moved forward, we want to go faster, and we need to realize what international challenges are for us, as the ones that I mentioned, and that are really huge in a case of a country, as I mentioned, such as Cuba, a small country with limited resources. But this is the nature of the process. So this is a process that began in November. So we are talking about 6 months of national discussion at every level, and of course, popular opinion is the basis, not only for it, but also for what is going to be approved. And this has to do with our mentality and the way we have done national reviews of every issue in Cuba, always since the time of the
Thank you for your presentation. My question is about the important statement that you made, that no one will be abandoned in this transition, and that is obviously a crucial statement. So my question really is, if you could give specific examples, there must be some concern that a lot of people are going to have to shift from what they have been doing, and some people are going to have to do something new. So how large is that group, and what measures will the Cuban state take to guarantee that no one will be abandoned? Can you give specific examples? Yes, of course. I mean, our economy changes. A lot of us get left behind here in Canada, and we don't seem to have those kind of guarantees. So I'm wondering what we can learn.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to say that many people are going to be in the necessity of move from what they were not doing. So if they were not being productive, and I will tell you what the situation is very clear. In Cuba, if you own your home, you have free healthcare and free education up to university. And if you, let's say, receive remittances from abroad, or if you have you work in an area of the economy that has the higher salaries or have a good payment, some people are inclined not to work. But socially, they are in the payroll because they don't want to be seated at home. So basically, what we are doing is telling everybody, if you're healthy, if you have the conditions to work, you have to be productive. You cannot make the state cost for your salary without any economic result. So basically, what the state is saying is the following. We have 1.6% unemployment, so that means of a workforce of 4 million people, we believe to begin with that maybe hundreds of thousands have to be reallocated. So what we meant with the phrase is